Hello, everyone. Pastor Chris Wallace here from First Baptist Church in Mount Pleasant, North Carolina. It's good to talk to you today. Good to be able to post another video to help us through another weekend without church services as we continue in these unprecedented days of dealing with COVID-19. It's been remarkable, despite all the terrible things that are going on, to see and watch just how miraculous the response to this disease has been. It's amazing when I hear so many complaints in the media and the news about what hasn't been done yet and why isn't this faster and so on. And I don't think people have really stopped to understand just how quickly things are taking place, where we're working on vaccines already, where we're working on take-it-home tests and so on. People need to think about the fact that it's taken decades for some of these things in the past to happen, and yet here we are looking in a matter of months. The entire medical field is to be applauded, and all those who are on the front lines dealing and working so closely with so many who are so sick. The technology that God has allowed us to develop and so on, this really is just nothing short of miraculous. And to see the cooperation going on between the public and private sector is once again, nothing short of the monumental effort that happened in 1942 after the bombing of Pearl Harbor, when the entire nation, seems that the economy of the entire nation was focused on the war effort. We really are in a war. But we need to also understand and exercise understanding of the kind of war that we're in. It's also been amazing, I think, to watch and listen and to see how so many people are, I guess, taking advantage of the situation and in some ways trying to perhaps stir the pot a little too much. It's amazing how we hear people not really realizing the interpretation of things that's trying to be put forward. It's interesting how, we're talking about closing things down, but yet people want everything to be opened back up. But when the government talks about opening things back up as quickly as possible, people are critical of the government trying to move too fast. And it really is the kind of situation where it doesn't matter what you say at this point. Someone is going to take it the wrong way. The interpretation skills kind of slide down a little bit in times of crisis. Accusations and misunderstandings are easier to hurl than trying to work through what's really being said. Or do we need to be encouraged? Yes, we need to be encouraged, and that fact that things are going to get back to normal. And church today, we need to hear that message. Things are going to get back to normal. This is not the end of the world. This is not the tribulation. This is a time in which we're working through something as human beings together in a way that we've never had to do before. And so we need to try to err at least on the side of being kind, if nothing else, trying to be more and more like Christ, our Savior, in these difficult times. We have to get past the convenience store, I want it immediately, instant gratification, continuous interruption that our society and much of our younger folks, that's what their life has come to consist of. They want instant information. They want instant fixes. They want instant everything. And we who have a few more years realize life doesn't work that way. So we need to make sure that we're trying and at least attempting to understand, but really isn't that the nature of what we are as human beings? I mean, there's so many times, and today's message title is When We Don't Understand. When we don't understand. And there are many, many times in our lives when we don't understand. But I think biblically, the greatest source of information of dealing with that question comes in a book that I'm sure there are a lot of pastors today that are looking at and reading in these days, and that, of course, is the book of Job. Job is a marvelous, amazing, deep, textured, rich book, but it is in some ways so full of the lack of comprehension, the application of the wrong standards, and really what amounts to straw man argumentation. When people are arguing and pointing things out and saying things to people and about people and so on that can be so completely and utterly wrong. It really is sometimes easier to tear people down than it is to exercise sympathy and compassion. It's easier to walk in ignorant assumptions than it is to really truly try to be wise and discerning in situations. There's too many, I think, today in the media and other places that are trying to appear wise in the eyes of the public. Unfortunately, I think what they're doing is really just sort of revealing their own lack of their comprehension, both historically and in other ways. I think ethically and even morally. Can anyone do everything right in this time? No. There's no one single person, no one single department, no one single government, nor one single official from the president down who can do everything right. And we're too many of us who are trying to spend our time focusing and pouring out hatred, political bias, and all these other different things that are motivating so many of these conversations, instead of us trying to sit back and think to ourselves, what would I do if I was that person in that situation? So today we're going to look then just for a few minutes in the book of Job and see what really measures up to the question of when we don't understand. So first off, in Job chapter 1, of course, we read about Job and we understand that there's interesting passages in Job about Satan being before God and wanting to test Job and so on. I don't want to get entangled in that issue today because that requires a much deeper conversation than we have time for in this message. But what I do want to point out is the fact that we as people, when we read the book of Job or when we look at the world today, we need to understand and we need to see that what is happening and what has happened to us is an unmitigated disaster. I mean, there is no way to pull that punch, so to speak, and lessen the effect of what has happened. This is a worldwide event. There are thousands upon thousands of people who have died. I mean, this is the economic effects, the tourism effects, all the things that this disease has affected.